Okay, so guys, this is the study guide review, and I wanted to go through all these problems because there's some weird language in here, and this is what you guys will be tested on. So this is looking like something you will see on the exam. Okay, and so please look through these videos if you get stuck. Again, this is due, but the point of this video is not so that you guys can just copy down the answers. It is so that you can study. Okay, and so first problem here, it's asking for possible zeros. Okay, so when you think that, think of P divided by Q, where P is going to be the last number and Q is the number in the front. So here it's 9 divided by 2. So I want factors of 9. So I'm going to put plus or minus 1, plus or minus 9, because 1 times 9 is 9. I also have 3, so 3 times 3 is also 9. And now I want factors of 2. So 1 and 2. Okay, and so final answer, P's divided by Q's would be 1 divided by 1, so plus or minus 1. 9 divided by 1, so plus or minus 9, and so forth. And once I get through here, now I want to do 1 divided by 2, so 1 half, 3 halves, and 9 halves. So these are my possible zeros. So again, when you actually try to do synthetic division, don't do the fraction ones. They'll just make things more difficult, and they're not going to be the answer, just so you know. Okay, so excuse me. So now that I want to find the zeros of the function, now I'm going to have to do the synthetic division, and I gave you a clue here. Try -1 or 1. Okay, I went ahead and went through this problem already. I do know that -1 is one of the answers, and when you go through it on the test, guys, -1 or 1 is going to be one of the zeros anyway. The other ones are going to be ones you're going to might have to guess. Okay, so here we'll go to 2. This becomes -2, -1, and then 1, -18, which makes this +18, and +9, -9, 0. So we did find that this was a factor because it equals 0 and it has no remainder. Okay, so I have to move forward, so I'm going to keep using the answer I found just right here. So 18 and 9, and just so you guys can see the graph here. Okay, I crossed at -1, which is good because that's where I found a 0. And I can see from the graph I also crossed at -3 and at +3 over here. So those are going to be the other zeros. Again, over here we can see that 3 is in our list, and although I have to guess which ones these are, okay, as this should be like a multiple choice question, so like look at your multiple choice answers. That way you're not guessing through all the answers. I mean, they'll have like, check 4, check 2, something like that. Okay, so I'm gonna keep moving forward. So 3 is gonna be one of my answers. I already know that. So so this is 6, 5, 15. I'm sorry, this is a negative. So I can see I found another 0 at 3. Okay, now I can keep moving forward, guys, and I'll find that -3. I knew from the graph that -3 is also an answer. Again, this should be an answer choice in your multiple choice questions. So look at the numbers they give you, and you keep going on from there. And whichever ones give you remainder of 0, that's going to be the answer. So I'm going to continue here. -1, and so I found 3 zeros. One at -1, one at 3, one at -3. So my zeros are going to be -1, 3, and -3. And I do have one more 0, but I mean, let's just leave it like that. If you can find me 3 of them, that's good. So use our answers to write the zeros as linear factors, guys. That just means, remember, if this was a -1 up here, I have to write this as a +1. Okay, if this was a +3 here, I write it as a -3. If this is, I found this 0 at -3, that means this is +3. And then the rest of this is just going to be this right here, 2x minus 1. And so since all of them are degree of 1, I don't have no squares, no cubes, nothing like that. These are my linear factors. This is the final answer. Okay, so moving forward, sketch the graph for this equation. Okay, so first thing is to find the degree of the whole thing. So I look at the entire thing. So here I have a 2, out here I have a 1, and out here I have a 3. So 2 plus 1 plus 3 is degree 6, which is even, which means they're going to move in the same direction, either both up or both down. And since there's no negative numbers in front of these parentheses, I know that they're both going to move up. Okay. Now next is to find the zeros. So again, take what's inside the parentheses. So x plus 1 equals 0, so x equals negative 1. X plus 3 equals 0, so x equals negative 3, and x minus 6 equals 0, so x equals positive 6. So those are my zeros. So 1 here at negative 1, 1 at negative 3, and 1 at positive 6. Okay. So next is the multiplicity. So I look at each one. This one is even, which means it does not cross. This one right here is a 1 on the outside of the parentheses, so this is an odd degree, which means it does cross. And over here, again, this 3 is an odd number, so it does cross. And the last thing here is the y-intercept, which, guys, I'm just going to plug in a 0 for x. So 0 plus 1 squared, 0 plus 3 to the 1 power, and 0 minus 6 to the third, which is going to be a big number. So here is going to be 1 squared times 3 times negative 6 to the third power. So this is going to be 1 multiplied by 3, because 1 squared is just 1, and negative 6 cubed is, give me a second here, negative 216. So when I multiply that by 3 is negative 648. So the number's going to be somewhere way down here. Okay. So last thing I'm going to do now, I know they're both going up. So right here going up, right here going up. And at negative 3, I know that it's going to cross. So it crosses. Then it has to come back up to the positive, the negative one, where here it does not cross. We already saw that. So it's going to touch the x-axis, come back down, go through the y-intercept, and if everything was drawn right, it says it's crossing. So yes, so this is the way my graph looks, like that. Okay. What is the multiplicity of 0 at negative 3, 0? So again, guys, remember, this is negative 3, right? Which corresponds to the x plus 3 one. So this one right here. So here multiplicity was 1. So multiplicity was 1. Okay. So next question here. Based on this graph, what's the equation? And so remember, our equation is going to look something like this. So f of x equals some equation, right? And it depends on the zeros and all that stuff. So what I can tell from this graph is one side's going down and one side's going up. So I know that this is going to be odd. And when it goes down on this side and up over here, it's going to be a positive one. Okay, so zeros, again, I can look at where did it cross the x-axis. So I know it crossed here at 1, 2, 3, negative 4, which I can write as y plus 4. At negative 1, so this is x plus 1, and at positive 2, so oops, x minus 2. So these are my three factors, x plus 4, x plus 1, and x minus 2. Now we look at the multiplicity. So here at the negative 4, I saw that it crossed. So this one crossed, so this has to be odd. So right now it's drawn as odd because there's the power outside's a 1. I see that it crosses right here, so that also has to be odd. And right now it's still drawn as odd. And right here it is odd again because it's still crossing. So right now it's still drawn as odd, which is good. So now everything's still working. And this is the tough part. So right here, the y-intercept's negative 2. So negative 2 is equal to 0 plus 4, 0 plus 1, and 0 minus 2. And we're going to find some value I call b. Okay, I want to see, do I have a number in the front or not? So negative 2 is equal to b times 4 times 1 times negative 2. So negative 2 is equal to b. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. And then I'm going to divide by negative 8 so that the b's alone. So b is equal to 2 divided by 8, which is also equal to 1/4. So final equation is 1/4 times x plus 4, x plus 1, and x minus 2. So this is my final equation.